Welcome to the world of sci-fi stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. Every species fears me, so why aren't you afraid, human? The aliens doubts the alien woman stood tall as her ship slowly descended from the skies, landing with a gentle hum. She had traveled across galaxies, conquering planets, and bringing fear to countless civilizations on Earth. Her reputation had spread like wildfire. The humans feared her as they should. She was not just any alien. She was part of the Zorth Empire, an ancient and powerful race that had crushed worlds with ease. The power that radiated from her ship alone sent shockwaves through the small town she had chosen for her arrival. People ran in panic, their hearts filled with terror. News outlets blared the warning. The Earth's military was on high alert, but amid the chaos, there was one human who stood still, a man named Alex, standing alone on the sidewalk, watching the alien woman descend from the sky. Seemingly unfazed by the world around him, the alien woman's eyes narrowed. She had never encountered a human who didn't run. Most humans would have been cowering in fear, hiding in basements, or begging for their lives by now. Yet here was Alex, just standing. His expression was calm, as if he were observing a curious event, not a life or death situation. It puzzled her. Why is he not afraid? She muttered under her breath. She stepped out of her ship, the ground beneath her, her feet shaking with every step. The air around her buzzed with energy, her alien power radiating like a deadly force. Her body was tall, with dark skin that shimmered like polished obsidian. Her eyes were glowing with the intensity of 1,000 stars piercing through the darkened sky. She was a living weapon, feared by all she had encountered. Her ship was equipped with technology beyond human imagination, and yet here was this human standing, looking at her as if she were just another passing traveler. Alex did not flinch, did not step back. He stood his ground, his arms crossed, as though he had seen her kind before. His calmness intrigued her even more. This was no ordinary human. This one at least was different. And that difference was making her feel an odd emotion she hadn't felt in a long time. Doubt. She walked up to him, her every movement deliberate and slow, watching his eyes, expecting some sign of weakness. The people around her were still running, hiding, or looking up in terror. But Alex didn't move. He didn't even seem to care about the devastation her presence was causing. He was a puzzle, one she couldn't solve. The alien woman stopped a few feet in front of Alex, her glowing eyes narrowing as she stared him down. The streets were quiet, all sounds muffled except for the humming of her ship and the distant whispers of the people who had hidden themselves. The sun had started to set, casting an orange glow over the scene. Everyone fears me, she said, her voice booming with power and certainty. But why aren't you afraid of me, human? Her words echoed through the street, and yet Alex stood firm, not an ounce of fear in his body. The alien woman's confidence began to waver, the tiniest hint of uncertainty creeping into her mind. She had spent centuries conquering worlds, yet this one human standing alone in front of her refused to bow to her might. It was unnerving. Alex finally spoke, his voice steady, his eyes still locked on hers. I'm not afraid, because I know who I am, he said simply. And I know you're not here to destroy us all. You've come for something else. So if you're going to do something, do it. But don't waste my time. The alien woman's confusion deepened. How could he be so sure? How could he stand there so unafraid, as if her power meant nothing? She had seen entire civilizations crumble before her, their people begging for mercy. And yet here was a human who didn't even blink. How do you know what I want? She asked, her voice softer now, though the air still trembled with her power. Alex didn't back down. Because I know you and I know your kind. You've destroyed worlds, yes, but you've also moved on. You don't stay in one place for long. You're not here to end humanity. You're here because you want something. The alien woman was stunned. She had expected fear, maybe even defiance, but not this calm understanding. How had this human figured her out so easily? She had not shown any sign of weakness, had not given away any clues, and yet here was Alex reading her as if she were an open book. Her heart raced for a moment, something she hadn't felt in centuries. She was starting to wonder if Alex was right. What if she wasn't here to destroy? What if there was more to her visit than she had initially believed? Was it possible that she wasn't here to conquer, but to learn? The alien woman took a deep breath forcing her mind to focus. "You're different from all the others," she said, her voice now a bit quieter but no less commanding. "But that doesn't change the fact that I am powerful. I could destroy this town, this entire planet, in an instant." Alex finally looked away, his gaze sweeping over the now empty streets, the scattered remains of a city in shock. "I know you could," he said, "but you won't." The alien woman hesitated. She had expected more resistance, more fear, maybe even a plea for mercy, but Alex wasn't afraid. He wasn't begging. He was simply standing there, confident in his knowledge of her, of herself, and of humanity. The alien woman was no longer sure of what to expect. For the first time in a long time, doubt had begun to creep into her thoughts, and that doubt, something she had never allowed herself to feel, would change everything. The encounter. The alien woman stood there, her mind racing. She had encountered countless species across the galaxy, each one trembling before her might, yet Alex, the human who should be cowering in fear, stood unwavering. He wasn't afraid. The more she observed him, the more intrigued she became. It was as if his calmness was a challenge, one she wasn't sure how to meet. She took another step closer, her boots making a faint sound on the cracked pavement. Her eyes glowed brightly as she looked at him. The people who had once surrounded them now peered out from behind buildings and vehicles, their eyes wide with fear and wonder. No one dared approach, but they couldn't look away from the strange interaction unfolding before them. "You say you're not afraid," the alien woman said, her voice softer now, but still carrying an undeniable authority. "But why aren't you afraid of me?" Human Alex didn't flinch. He looked at her with steady eyes, his posture still relaxed. There was no sign of panic, no sign of weakness. He spoke calmly, his words slow and deliberate. "Fear is a choice," he said, his voice calm but firm. "People fear what they don't understand. I'm not afraid because I understand. You're not here to destroy. You're here for something else." The alien woman's brow furrowed. "What makes you think that?" she demanded, her voice rising, the hint of frustration creeping into her tongue. She had expected defiance, perhaps even a desperate plea for mercy, but not this certainty, this calm understanding that seemed so out of place. Alex shifted his weight slightly and took a step closer to her, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because I know you're kind," he replied. "You don't destroy without reason. You conquer to gain something, to learn, to grow. You're not here to kill. You're here to learn about us, about how we survive, and maybe even to see what makes us different from all the other species you've encountered." The alien woman was silent for a moment, her glowing eyes searching his face for any sign of deceit. There was none. He spoke with such certainty, and yet she couldn't quite understand why she had destroyed entire civilizations without so much as a second thought. Why was this human different? "You're wrong," she said, though she wasn't entirely sure of herself. "I am an agent of destruction. I bring the end to those who resist us. That is all I have ever done." Alex shook his head. "That's just what you've been told. It's not who you are." "Not really." She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I am here because I am strong, and strength is all that matters. I do not need your understanding. I only need to know why you stand before me unafraid and without a trace of fear in your eyes. You humans have always been weak. Maybe that's what you've been told, but it's not true." Alex said, "We fight, we survive, we don't give up. That's why we're still here. That's why we don't fear you." The alien woman was quiet again, her mind swirling with questions. It wasn't like her to question anything, especially not her own actions. But here she was feeling something she hadn't felt in centuries. "Doubt. I don't understand," she said, her voice barely a whisper, her powerful form seeming to shrink just a little. "How can you stand so still, so calm? Don't you fear me?" Alex smiled softly, shaking his head. "No, we don't fear. What we can understand, you want something from us, and I don't think it's destruction. You're not like the other invaders. You're different." The alien woman looked down at him for a long moment, her gaze intense. She had expected fear, resistance, perhaps even anger, but this human, this Alex offered her something she had never expected: acceptance. He didn't look at her as a threat but as an unknown, and that in turn forced her to look at herself through a different lens. The air around them hummed with the tension of an unanswered question. She felt as though something was slipping away, some certainty she had once held dear. She had been trained her whole life to conquer, to dominate, and yet here was this human with his strange confidence, making her question everything. "Why do you not fear me?" she repeated this time, softer, almost as if the answer mattered more to her than anything else. Alex stood quietly, his gaze unwavering. "Because I believe in humanity. We have something you don't understand, something that can't be measured by power alone." The alien woman considered his words carefully. She had spent her entire life believing in strength and domination, in the ability to crush others beneath her, but this human's calm certainty was like a crack in her armor, a small break in the walls she had built around herself. "You speak of belief," she said slowly, the words tasting foreign on her tongue. "But beliefs can be dangerous. They can make you weak. They can make you believe in things that aren't real." Alex shook his head again. "No, beliefs are what make us strong. They are what give us purpose, and right now my belief is that you're not here to destroy us. You're here to find out something that even you don't fully understand." The alien woman's mind swirled. She could feel the unfamiliar sensation of doubt creeping into her thoughts, gnawing at the edges of her confidence. What if this human was right? What if she wasn't here for destruction, but for something deeper, something more human? And in that moment she realized she didn't know the answer. She didn't know why she was here, why she had landed on this planet, or why she felt such an overwhelming curiosity about Alex. She only knew that for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure of anything anymore. The alien's challenge. The alien woman stood motionless, her glowing eyes fixed on Alex as he remained still, not a hint of fear in his expression. She could feel the weight of his words lingering in the air, and they unsettled her more than she cared to admit. She had come to Earth expecting to see fear, panic, and resistance, everything she was accustomed to from weaker species, but instead she found calm, even understanding. For a moment she struggled to reconcile this with everything she had known about humans. What kind of species could stand before her so unafraid when her very presence was enough to terrify the strongest of beings? It was an anomaly, something her mind couldn't process. "You believe I'm here to learn," the alien woman finally said, breaking the silence. "Then let me test you. Let me test your belief in your kind, in your humanity." Alex's brow furrowed, but he didn't step back. "Test me," he repeated. How the alien woman's lips curled into a slight smirk, though there was an eerie coldness to it. She had always been in control of herself, of her powers, and of any being she faced, but something about Alex made her want to push the boundaries, to challenge not just him, but the idea that she could be defeated or outsmarted. "I will show you the power of the Zorth Empire," she said, her voice now filled with authority. "And if you stand here unafraid after witnessing it, then perhaps I will believe that you and your kind truly are something to be respected." She raised her hand, and the air around them seemed to shift. The ground beneath their feet rumbled as a low hum vibrated through the streets. With a swift movement, the alien woman lifted her hand higher, and suddenly the skies above darkened. A massive beam of energy shot from her hand, tearing through the sky like a streak of lightning. The ground beneath her cracked open, and the blast sent a shockwave through the surrounding area, obliterating a nearby building. People screamed and fled, but Alex remained where he stood, his face unchanging. The alien woman watched him carefully, expecting to see a reaction, anything. Fear, panic, the hint of a flinch, yet nothing. He just stared at her as the dust settled, and the dust cloud slowly dissipated. "You see," the alien woman said, her voice dripping with a mixture of triumph and confusion, "this is power. Power that has crushed entire civilizations, power that could erase your entire world in an instant, and yet you stand there untouched, unfazed. Why, how can you not fear me?" Alex's voice was calm, but it carried a quiet strength. "Because I know what you're doing. You're showing me your strength, but you're also showing me that you're not here for destruction. If you wanted to destroy, you wouldn't need to do all of this. You just do it." The alien woman blinked, her grip on her power loosening slightly. She had expected resistance, but this response, it was almost as if Alex was challenging her view of strength itself. What he said made sense, but it wasn't something she wanted to hear. She wasn't used to her strength being questioned, much less being rationalized. "Is that what you think?" she asked, her tone quieter, almost as if she were testing him. "That I am here to teach you a lesson, that I am here to show you the might of my empire." Alex shook his head. "No, you're here Because you want to understand, you want to know why we're not like the others you've conquered. The alien woman frowned. And if that's true, what would you have me understand? She asked, now lowering her hand and releasing the power that had devastated the area. The calm that followed felt almost unnatural, as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting for an answer. Alex took a step forward, and his voice was steady but firm. You want to understand why we don't fear you, right? You want to know what makes us different. So let me tell you, we don't fear because we fight, we resist, no matter how powerful you are. No matter what you do, we don't give up. That's what makes us strong. For the first time, the alien woman seemed to hesitate. Her power flickered for a moment, as if she were grappling with something she couldn't quite understand. She had conquered worlds before, laid waste to entire civilizations, but now, standing in front of this human, she felt something unfamiliar. It was as if she was starting to see that power alone wasn't enough. There was something more, something that she couldn't just destroy. With a blast of energy, you speak of resistance, the alien woman said, her voice quieter now, as if she were considering his words. But you resist because you know you can. What happens when you face a force that you cannot resist? What happens when resistance is no longer an option? Alex didn't hesitate. Then we adapt, we find a way to survive, we do whatever it takes to protect what we care about. That's what we do. The alien woman's eyes narrowed as she processed his words. She had come to Earth thinking. She understood everything, thinking she could crush any resistance. But now she was starting to see that humanity wasn't like the other species she had encountered. They didn't fall to fear easily. They fought, they adapted, and most surprisingly, they believed in something beyond just power. Perhaps, the alien woman murmured, there is more to humanity than I realized. For the first time, she wasn't sure of herself. Her certainty, her belief in the superiority of her species was beginning to crack. And as much as she hated it, she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that maybe, just maybe, Alex was right. The aliens' doubts. The alien woman stood in silence, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. The once unshakable confidence that had guided her for centuries was beginning to falter. She had always believed that strength was the ultimate measure of power, that to rule was to dominate, to destroy. But standing before this human Alex, who seemed unafraid of her power, she was forced to reconsider everything she had ever known. Alex's calm words echoed in her mind. We resist because we know we can. We adapt. We survive. Her hands clenched into fists as she wrestled with the concept. She had traveled the stars, seen entire civilizations crumble beneath her, and yet here was a human, one of the smallest species she had ever encountered, standing firm against her might. The more she thought about it, the more her understanding of strength seemed to shift, as if the very foundation of her beliefs was crumbling. Why do you fight so hard? She asked, her voice now quiet, almost hesitant. Her glowing eyes flickered slightly, as if searching for answers, for something beyond what she had been taught. You're only human. You've been weak your entire existence, yet you resist with such ferocity. Why? Alex met her gaze, his expression thoughtful. We fight because it's what we've always done. We don't have the luxury of just giving up. It's in our nature to push forward, to survive no matter the odds. That's what makes us strong. The alien woman's brow furrowed. She could feel the doubt in her chest growing stronger, eating away at her certainty. What if he's right? What if strength wasn't just about physical power? What if there was something deeper that she had overlooked? She had always prided herself on her empire's ability to crush those who dared to challenge them. But what if there were other ways to define power? I don't understand, she muttered, the words slipping out before she could stop herself. You're telling me that your strength doesn't come from power, from what I can do. It comes from something else, something that I don't know. Alex nodded, slowly understanding the weight of her question. Yes, we don't rely solely on power. We rely on something much stronger, the belief in each other, the will to protect the things that matter most to us. That's where our strength comes from. The alien woman looked away, her gaze drifting to the wreckage she had caused. The damage was immense, buildings reduced to rubble, the streets torn apart by the blast of her energy. And yet she couldn't ignore the fact that no one had submitted, no one had begged. The humans weren't afraid, they were resilient. Even in the face of destruction, she had seen countless species fall to their knees before her, their leaders begging for mercy. But humanity was different. They didn't fall easily, and as much as she despised The thought it made her feel something unfamiliar, a deep sense of respect mixed with an unshakable curiosity. "What is it about this belief?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper now. "Why does it make you so strong? How can something as intangible as belief hold so much power?" Alex's eyes softened, his voice filled with a quiet understanding. "Because to us belief isn't just an idea, it's what drives us. We believe in each other, in our families, in our communities. We fight not for ourselves, but for those we love, for what we've built together. That's the foundation of our strength. And as long as we have that, we can face anything." The alien woman felt an unexpected pang of something, a feeling she couldn't quite identify. It wasn't just doubt anymore. It was the beginning of something else. Something that felt dangerously close to admiration. She had always thought of humans as fragile, insignificant beings. But the more she spoke with Alex, the more she realized that their strength came from something much deeper than what she had ever known. "Humans are strange," she said, almost to herself. "I have conquered worlds, I have destroyed countless civilizations, yet none of them fought like this. None of them resisted with such conviction." Alex smiled, a slight but genuine expression. "That's because we have something you don't understand. We fight not because we want to win, but because we have something worth protecting. That's what makes us different." The alien woman felt a strange warmth settle in her chest. She didn't want to admit it, didn't want to show weakness in front of him, but something inside her had shifted. The certainty with which she had arrived on Earth, convinced that she would crush this planet and move on, was slowly giving way to doubt. She was starting to realize that humanity's strength wasn't something she could easily defeat. For the first time, the alien woman allowed herself to entertain the possibility that Alex might be right, that power wasn't the only thing that defined strength. Maybe, just maybe, humanity's ability to endure, to fight for what they believed in, was a form of strength that she couldn't destroy with a single blast of energy. Her hand, which had been clenched into a fist, relaxed. She was no longer so sure of her mission. What was she really here for? Was it to destroy, or was it to understand? And what if the very thing she had come to Earth to conquer was the thing she needed to learn from instead? She looked down at Alex, her voice soft, but filled with the weight of the question she had been avoiding. "What would you have me do now?" she asked, her tone betraying a hint of vulnerability she had never allowed herself to feel before. Alex paused, his gaze steady and kind. "I think you already know the answer," he said quietly. For a long moment they stood in silence, the weight of their words hanging in the air between them. The alien woman didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain: this encounter had changed her in ways she couldn't yet fully comprehend. And as she looked at Alex, a human who had dared to stand before her without fear, she realized that maybe, just maybe, there was more to strength than what she had always believed. The test of wits. The alien woman stood quietly, her mind reeling with everything Alex had said. Every word seemed to challenge her deeply held beliefs about power, strength, and what it meant to be superior. She had come to Earth expecting to conquer, to break the spirits of its people, and yet now she was the one questioning everything. For centuries she had been a conqueror, using her intellect and power to subjugate and control, but here she was standing before a human who had neither flinched in fear nor surrendered. Instead, Alex had made her question the very idea of victory. She had tried to prove her power to him, to show him how easily she could destroy. And yet his unwavering belief in humanity remained. Now she found herself in unfamiliar territory, unsure of what her next step should be. "You're different from all the others I've encountered," the alien woman said, her voice quieter now, but still carrying an air of command. "But that doesn't make sense. You're not stronger than me, you're not more powerful. So what is it about you that makes you so resilient?" Alex met her gaze with calm certainty, as he always did. "It's not about strength. It's about how we use what we have, our minds, our hearts, our will. We find ways to solve problems, to adapt, and to survive. That's what makes us strong." The alien woman felt the stirrings of a challenge in her chest. She could feel her pride rising, a desire to prove herself once again. She had always been able to defeat her enemies with force, with might, with her superior intellect, but this human he wasn't Responding to her power, no, he was responding to something far deeper, the idea of belief, of unity, of resilience. A plan began to form in her mind. If he believes humans are so resilient, so clever, perhaps I can test that. If he's as confident as he says, perhaps he would be willing to prove it. Then let me see it for myself, she said, her tone shifting from doubt to challenge. Let me test your strength of mind, human. If you are so certain in your beliefs, then prove them to me. Alex raised an eyebrow, but didn't step back. He seemed to understand that the alien woman's challenge wasn't just about power, it was about proving something intangible. What kind of test? The alien woman smiled, her eyes gleaming with a cold light. A test of wits. I will present you with a series of challenges. Puzzles, riddles, situations that require intelligence and strategy. If you can solve them, I will leave Earth. But if you fail, you will submit to me. The challenge was clear. Alex didn't flinch. He didn't hesitate. Instead, he met her challenge head-on. Fine, I accept. Let's see if your empire's intelligence can outsmart humanity. The first puzzle was simple yet mind-bending. The alien woman conjured an image in the air, a complex maze with shifting walls and traps. Escape this maze, she said. You have 10 minutes to find the exit. Fail, and I will destroy this entire city. Alex studied the maze carefully. He could feel the pressure building, the weight of her threat hanging in the air. But he didn't panic. He didn't rush. He began analyzing the maze, watching how the walls shifted and how the traps moved. After a few moments, he pointed to a hidden path into the maze. The exit is here, he said confidently. The walls are shifting, but there's a pattern. If I follow the right sequence, I can get out. The alien woman's eyes narrowed as she observed him. For a moment, she wondered if Alex had truly found the solution. But then she smiled. You may be right, she said, but there's one thing you missed. With a flick of her hand, the walls of the maze began to move even faster, and a new, more dangerous trap appeared in Alex's path. The true test is not just intelligence, she said, it's adaptability. How quickly can you change your strategy when everything you know is thrown off course? Alex didn't hesitate. He darted to the side, finding a new path. As the maze shifted, the puzzle had changed, but he adapted. His quick thinking, his ability to reassess the situation, allowed him to find his way out despite the increased difficulty. The alien woman watched with growing interest as Alex navigated the maze. She had expected him to fail, to crumble under pressure, but instead, he was proving her wrong. He wasn't just thinking, he was adapting, responding to the challenge with a calm that she hadn't expected from a mere human. When Alex finally emerged from the maze, the alien woman stood still for a moment, her mind processing what had just happened. Impressive, she said, her voice tinged with both admiration and disbelief. You solved the puzzle, but the test is far from over. The second test was more complex. The alien woman created a series of riddles, each more challenging than the last. She watched as Alex pondered each one carefully, never rushing to an answer. The riddles were designed to test his logic, his ability to think outside the box, and his knowledge of the universe and time. And again, Alex found solutions that surprised her. One riddle in particular caught her off guard. I am not alive, but I grow. I do not have lungs, but I need air. I do not have a mouth, but water kills me. What am I? Alex thought for a moment, and then his eyes lit up. Fire, he answered. Fire grows, it needs air, and water kills it. The alien woman's gaze softened slightly. Correct. By the time the third test arrived, the alien woman's certainty had already begun to fade. She was no longer just testing Alex's intelligence. She was beginning to test something else. Her challenge had become more personal. She had expected to crush him with puzzles and riddles, to break his spirit, but instead, she was watching the human outwit her, adapt to her challenges, and face every trial with unwavering confidence. For the first time, she was beginning to doubt her own superiority. As the realization sank in, the alien woman finally spoke again, her voice softer than before, tinged with a newfound respect. Perhaps I have misunderstood you, human, she said quietly. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I ever realized. Alex smiled, but it wasn't a smile of triumph. It was a smile of understanding, of shared knowledge. Maybe now you see, he said simply. The alien woman stood there for a moment longer, her thoughts swirling. She had come to Earth as a conqueror, certain of her superiority. But now, as she looked at Alex, she saw something entirely different. She saw humanity's strength, not in their physical might, but in their spirit, and for the first time in her life, she found herself truly respecting them. "I came here to destroy you," the alien woman said, her voice quiet but resolute. "But now I see that I was wrong. I will not destroy you, human. I will leave your planet in peace." Alex nodded, understanding that this moment was a turning point not just for him, but for her as well. "Thank you," he said simply, "but remember, we are not weak. We are strong because we choose to stand together. We fight for what we believe in. And we always will." The alien woman looked at him one last time, her eyes filled with both respect and regret. She turned away, her ship rising into the sky, leaving Earth behind. But as she ascended into the stars, she realized that the greatest lesson she had learned was not about defeating her enemies, but about understanding them. And for the first time, she truly understood humanity, the unexpected end. The alien woman gazed down at Earth one last time, her ship now soaring through the sky, its engines humming as the blue planet grew smaller and smaller beneath her. A sense of quiet had descended upon her, a quiet that contrasted sharply with the storm of emotion swirling within her. She had come to Earth with the intention of destroying, of asserting the might of the Zorth Empire, and showing the humans their inferiority. But now, as she drifted farther from the planet, she knew that everything she had believed was wrong. The journey had not been what she had expected. The people of Earth had not cowered in fear before her power. Instead, they had stood strong, resilient, and unyielding. Alex, the human who had so calmly faced her, had made her question everything: her strength, her mission, her very understanding of power. She had tried to test them with destruction, with force. And yet the humans had shown her something far more powerful: unity, belief, and an unwavering will to survive. These were things her empire had never valued, never truly understood. And now, as she left the planet behind, she realized that she could not simply return to her former ways. The lesson she had learned on Earth would change her forever. As her ship pierced through the atmosphere, the alien woman's thoughts turned to Alex. He had been the one to open her eyes, to make her see that power was not just about dominance, but about something much deeper. His words echoed in her mind: "We fight for each other. We fight for what we believe, and that's what makes us strong." His calm, unwavering belief in humanity had shaken her to the core, and now, as she looked back at the distant planet, she couldn't help but wonder how many other worlds her empire had conquered, how many civilizations they had destroyed without ever considering the strength of belief, of UN, of the will to protect. How many worlds could have been saved if only they had understood this truth? The alien woman knew that she couldn't go back to her empire, not with the knowledge she had gained on Earth. The lesson she had learned had changed her in ways she didn't fully understand. But she knew one thing: humanity was not a species to be feared. They were a species to be respected, to be admired, and in some ways perhaps they were even a species she could learn from. As her ship moved farther from Earth, she made a decision: she would not return to the Zorth Empire, not in the way she had once thought. She would go back to her people, but not as a conqueror. She would go back as someone changed, someone who could offer them the lesson she had learned from humanity. And as for Earth, she would leave them in peace. For now, the humans had shown her that strength wasn't just about defeating others. It was about the will to protect, the belief in something greater than yourself, and the resilience to stand firm even when faced with overwhelming odds. Those were the true marks of power. Alex had shown her that there was more to strength than she had ever imagined, and though she couldn't fully comprehend it, she knew that the human spirit was something that even the might of the Zorth Empire could not defeat. "Goodbye, human," she whispered softly, her voice filled with both respect and some that felt almost like gratitude. "May you continue to fight for what you believe in." With that, the alien woman's ship disappeared into the stars, leaving Earth behind. But as she vanished into the vastness of space, she knew that humanity had left a permanent mark on her heart. She would never again view the universe the same way. For the first time, she had witnessed true strength, not in power or fear, but in the quiet resilience of a species who refused to be broken.